the 5th time the ETCC has visited this near 6-kilometre circuit, just 20 kilometres outside of the Slovak capital, Bratislava. Good morning, everybody. Martin Haven alongside me, team principal from Craft Bamboo Racing, Richard Coleman, and the cars already on the grid, ready for the start of this 9-lap first race for their weekend. As with the season opener in Paul Ricard in France, 2 classes now in the European Touring Car Cup, Super 2000 and Super 1600. And as the green lights go on for the final formation lap, Richard, ideal conditions for racing, not too hot, going to be nice and dry. But the first race weekend of the season at this track means that there's still quite a lot of dirt and loose, well, dust and so on the track. Makes it hard for the cars when you get offline.
Absolutely, early in the year, and obviously Slovakia has quite a harsh winter, so circuit isn't used that much over the winter months. And yeah, this weekend the circuit has evolved a lot over the weekend, and it's probably starting to rubber up a bit now. World Touring Car here, of course, as well. But yeah, it will have been a challenge for the teams to set their cars up, given the grip keeps changing from session to session. But it will be the same for everybody this morning in race 1.
9 Super 2000 cars and 10 Super 1600 cars, of which the pole sitter in Super 1600 is Germany's Ulrike Kraft, one of the 2 women racing in the Super 1600 category, and her Ford Fiesta at the front of the grid. The other girl in the category, Ksenia Nix, the Ukrainian driver, didn't get times in qualifying with a mechanical problem, but she has been allowed to start at the back of the grid. So she's in for a tough time. And at the front of the field, Chris Johannes Schreiber, the 27-year-old Swiss rookie. His Seat Leon took pole position, but the FIA scrutineers were all over it because it appears to have shed part of its underfloor, leaving the pit lane and coming to the grid. So whether that is still legal or whether it will have a post-race or during the race penalty, I think remains to be seen. Manel, our chief scrutineer, who also looks after the World Touring Car Championship cars, has had a good look at the car, taken some photographs, and they will then go and pore over the homologation papers, possibly having a chat with Jaime Puig, the boss of Seat Sport, to see exactly what it is that might be missing and what the car has shed. And these cars with the sort of all-encompassing flat underfloor, Richard, you know, like a road car, you quite often see road cars with those flapping underneath on the motorway. They are very susceptible to damage or not being fastened, possibly.
Absolutely, always a very vulnerable part of the car, and particularly here because it's a sort of an old-school track in that sense that there's not these big tarmac runoff areas. It is grass and gravel that you're straight onto if you are to make a mistake. So, yeah, that part of the car is very vulnerable.
Being led round by the safety car. As I said, the Slovakia ring, built in 2008, 2009. This is the 5th time the European Touring Car Cup has come to the Slovakia ring. And for the man who lies on the outside the front row of the grid, the second of those blue and multicoloured Seats, Peter Fulin from the Czech Republic. This is as close to a home race as he ever gets. He's had a lot of success here. 5.9 kilometres. This is a long track by any standards. Most Grand Prix tracks aren't as long as that. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, 4.9 kilometres, so you can get an idea of just how tightly confined this track is. It's built in a sort of triangular piece of land, so you get a couple of long straights and then a lot of twisty stuff in between. Really going to put a premium on handling. Most of the cars in the Super 2000 category are Seat Leons. Peter Rickley there, you can just see on the extreme right of your screen, and his young teammate Chris Richard. They are both in brand new Honda Civic Type Rs, and the predominant force in the Super 1600 class is the Ford Fiesta. There are a couple of Peugeot 207s in there as well. Well, ages in the field range from the oldest, who is Peter Rickley, who is 11 years old, to a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old in the 2 categories that we're looking at here. So a wide spread of ages and a wide spread of abilities. We've got several newcomers to circuit racing in the field as well. So the safety car is about to beetle off into the pit lane as we get ready for the rolling start of the first race. Man on pole position, Christian Schreiber. His first race weekend in Paul Ricard. Very entertaining and adventurous. Seems to have a good racing head on his young shoulders. He will pace the field to the line, waiting for the lights to change. And they are going 2 by 2, should be going through the grid formation marks. Not sure everybody in Super 1600 understands that. Therefore, the red lights have remained on. And they are being waved by. So they will go round once more. And we have had this a few times when we had rolling starts in World Touring Car Championship racing. The deal is, when you're in 2 by 2 formation, you drive through the grid markings. And if everybody's fanned out 5 wide, then Mirek, our race director, waves them round again.
Yep, they've become very strict on that in the last sort of 12 months. And yeah, there's a lot of drivers that were not doing that, and it's pretty simple. You have to drive through your grid boxes, and it's a bit of a shame because it's a lap less of racing we'll have, of course, and it's a long lap for them to get round. But yeah, maybe there'll be some drivers who get a penalty after the race for causing that further down the order.
Well, you just saw Peter, the motorsport team, and there is Peter in his Honda Civic. And he's still way over on the wrong side. Peter Rickley is, and he's kind of closer to the grid spots. And we go green eventually. Merrick saying, OK, he's never going to get this. He don't think that Christian Schreiber in that number 19 Seat really had any idea what was going on. Chris Richard down the inside in the first of the Rickley Motorsport Honda Civics there. 3 wide for first, 3 wide for fourth. And Rickley gets up into 4th place from 8th on the grid, 7th on the grid. So the 2 Honda Civics making a very good start, and Rickley down the inside into turn 2 with cold tyres. Blimey O'Reilly, entertaining passing. Chris Richard has the lead from the poleman, Christian Schreiber. Peter Foulin now down to 4th place. So Peter Rickley's team watching through the fencing. And the Hondas up to 1st and 3rd. So really good starting from both Honda drivers.
Yeah, great starts. Great starts.
Somebody off in the background. It's one of the Super 1600 Fiestas, and the first one on the grid would have been the white car of Uli Kraft. Let's see if we can figure out. The cameras need to go and find who's gone off there. Watching the battle for the leader, though, Christian Schreiber, the youngster, that number 19 car in 2nd place. The Ole Seat. Talking to Jaime Puig, there's just about every single generation of this Seat Leon Euro Cup racer that has existed, from current 16 cars, 15 cars with sequential, 15 cars with H-pattern gearbox, old Euro Cup cars or 2-year-old Euro Cup cars. So there's a wild assortment. Oh, and a little tangle behind. Laluzec Mladin gets knocked sideways by Stefanowski, and through the gap went the grey and green car of Norbert Naj. So Naj from Zengo Motorsport moves up a spot. He goes up to 5th position. And there is Stefanowski with the Macedonian colours on the roof. That
was ambitious, to say the least, wasn't it, really?
It was a little. Well, you mentioned cold tyres. The other thing, of course, you get is cold brakes when you're on those formation laps. And 2 laps in, or on the 2nd lap, they may not be, drivers may not have entirely a feel for where the brake pedal is going to really do its best work.
At the moment, no penalty for Schreiber, which I'm slightly surprised at, to be honest. I thought that Mirek, the race director, may well have issued him a penalty by now.
Well, I think he's understanding that he's a rookie. He hasn't been on pole position in the series yet, may not be entirely familiar with the rules. You know, while it is the driver's onus, like I said, it's a harsh race director who's going to take away a pole for that. Christian Schreiber, though, takes the lead away from Chris Richard. He had a really good run through turn 1. And Richard, he was setting that pass up all the way down the pit straight.
He was, but I have to say that Richard made it a little bit easy there for him. I think that it's a little bit soft in his defence. Yeah, they both run slightly wide into turn 3.
And behind Peter Rickley in the 2nd of those red and green Hondas. Also looks as though the opening lap pace has gone away a little bit. He got by Peter Foulin and a couple of the others early on. And Foulin now, the 39-year-olds from the Czech Republic. These are the 2 least young drivers in the field. Let's be kind about that. Fabio Motta behind in the yellow and black car, the Portuguese driver. Another newcomer to the series.
Foolin needs a good result here. He's got 120 guests in the paddock watching this race, and all of his sponsors here.
Nearly got tagged out of the race there. Fabio Motta got his nose down the inside. I think Foolin saw the danger coming, or heard the danger coming, and left a tiny little bit of extra room. So Motta got away with that. Just being told that the car for Andrei Yevtushenko in the Super 1600 class, no transponder working on his car, so he's out there somewhere, but we're not getting any times for him. He's in 14th place. Uli Kraft didn't go off, by the way, so I'm not quite sure whose car it was in the gravel earlier on. Uli Kraft is leading Super 1600. As we look again at Peter Rickley trying to hang on. Gets away from Peter Foolin. The Honda Civic certainly picks up its skirts and runs away down the straight, doesn't it?
To be able to respond.
Yeah, moved up to 4th place. Sorry, Motta, Laluzic with Rickley way out there on the exit of the turn 2 curbs. And that's where all that gravel lies. Stefanovski coming back out of the pits from his drive-through.
Have to say, probably a deserved drive-through as well, really. He was never going to make the corner had he not made contact.
Well, there is a Fiesta in the pit lane. Just saw the yellow highlights of Ksenia Nix from the Ukraine. And a black flag has been awarded to Chris Johannes Schreiber and Peter Foolin. Both cars from the same team. So both Krenek Motorsport drivers are being black flagged out of the race. Now, does that mean that both had bits dropping off? Were the scrutineers looking at both of them? Or is it for the starting procedure? I can't believe, well, Peter, I don't know.
Maybe they were over the speed limit. There's a speed limit for the starting procedure, and maybe the front row were lapping too quickly at the start.
But you pace yourself on what the pole man does, whether he's your teammate or not. Chris Richard, therefore, in 2nd place at the moment between those two cars. Richard looks like he is now going to inherit the lead. So with 6 laps remaining, take the 2 grey and orange Seats out of the equation, and suddenly you're looking there at Fabio Motta, who will inherit 2nd place behind Chris Richard, and off has gone Mladen Laluzic. Got in too late into the penultimate corner. Look what it's done, it's dragged the bottom of his splitter off as well, or diffuser off at the back of the car.
So this will be the first time that they will have seen from the pit wall the black flag. And yeah, what a disaster for Krenek Motorsport. Both cars on the front row of the grid, and both cars disqualified at the halfway stage. And
you've just seen the move for 2nd place from Peter Foolin to go for a 1-2. And instead of a glorious 1-2 result for the team, they are going to end up in the pit lane arguing violently with somebody about something. Dear, oh dear. As you say, with over 100 guests coming out here, this is the closest race to the Czech Republic, the home of the team, and Peter Foolin. Looking here at our current champion, Nicholas Maxin, the black and multicoloured Fiesta, and Ulrika Kraft, who started on pole in Super 1600. This is a 5-way battle. The other white car behind, that 16-year-old Tomasz Kareni, a youngster from the Czech Republic, in his 1st season of car racing. 4th place is Hilgen Hervel, and Hilgen Hervel, another 16-year-old in that blue Peugeot. So you see a top 4 in Super 1600. They're habitually lapped by the much faster Super 2000 cars, and they probably will be here. But there's no shortage of racing, is there? 3 wide, and the 16-year-olds on either side of Ulrika Kraft, and Kareni takes the lead. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, what great racing. And this is where these guys learn their trade. This is the kind of pack racing that you see in touring car throughout all the disciplines, and even at the very highest level. And this is where they learn their craft. Well,
Kareni and Kraft, the 2 teammates. Kareni new to the series. Ulrika Kraft has been a former champion in Super 1600. I think this is her 3rd or maybe 4th season in these Super 1600 cars. She's gone through a couple of generations of Fiestas, and she squeezes in front just into turn 3 through the braking area. Nicholas Maxin, the black car. Look at the Peugeot, though. Hilgenhofer was saying after qualifying he thinks the Peugeot understeers too much on the exit of the corners. It's got better brakes, he reckons. It's better going in than the Fiestas, but struggles a bit on the exit. Well, he made that look a little better on the exit than he was giving the car credit for, and he's trying to go around the outside of the white car of Thomas Koreny. Didn't quite work for him, and that leaves him open to counter-attack from Maxin. And right now, the yellow and blue car behind is not getting much. That's Andrei Yevchenko from the Ukraine, yellow and blue colours of the Ukraine on his number 99 Ford Fiesta. He's kind of watching it all happen in front of him, isn't he? Fantastic action from these Super 1600s. Yevchenko down the inside of Hilgenhofer. And there is Christian Schreiber, the race leader. But a black flag, black flag has been served to him and his teammate, and the team manager of the team has been called to race control with immediate effect. Wow, what a disastrous start to what could have been a glorious morning. You can see the two cars first and second, and Richard, you know, when you're in the pit wall, it's just a disaster. You know, you've been trying to get your drivers to line up properly at the start, and it's just not happening.
I can't say I've ever been in that position, but I mean, it is absolute nightmare scenario for any team to be in a dominant position like this, and to have both cars disqualified. And also for Peter Fullin with his championship hopes. You know, he's a serious championship contender, and he knows that he doesn't know the next two circuits. He's not been to Nürburgring for 5 years.
Wow.
And he doesn't know Estoril at all, so he knows that he needed some points here at what is his home race.
The Super 1600 category continues to excite. This is the battle for third place. The yellow and blue Ukrainian colours of Andrei Yevchenko, just ahead of the blue Peugeot of 16-year-old Kevin Hilgenhofer from Germany. And right behind him is the car of Nicholas Maxin, the black machine. That's your reigning Super 1600 champion. Maxin just 21 years old. And the leader of the category is the first of those two white Fiestas, the teammates Ulrika Kraft, ahead of 16-year-old Czech driver Thomas Koreny. And those two Fiestas started to ease away now from this three-way battle behind. Maxin moving back in front of the Peugeot. The Peugeot was as high as second.
What great racing, though, from the Super 1600 category. I mean, this is fantastic racing, door to door, changing positions all the time.
And you can see why these drivers come back to this category, because that's what you want when you're a racing driver, especially when you're funding your own racing, you know, finding your sponsors or paying for it yourself, is you want door handle to door handle race. When they get out of their cars, they're going, wow, what a race.
Absolutely, and it's those kind of skill sets that they pick up that can allow them to move on in their career as well, because they need that kind of experience, and what a great series for that.
Well, Fabio Motta here, currently lying in what will become second place in the yellow and black Seat. Right behind him, Peter Rickley in what will be third. It's currently the battle for fourth place. What am I talking about? Well, the cars that are first and second will have been black flagged, will have to leave the race shortly. Kevin Hilgenhofer down the inside of Nicholas Maxin. The Germans swap fourth place in Super 1600. 3 laps to go, including the one we're on. That is a podium battle now, as they... Okay, so it's not... may well have been Ksenia Nix in the pits earlier on. We saw the yellow and blue car in the background of the shot, but she is still running round. And the other car, the other Ukrainian coloured car, it might be Pavlo Kopelets who's in the pits. Oh, Koreny turns Kraft around in the battle for the lead. These are teammates, and Uli Kraft shaking a fist at her young teenage 16-year-old teammate, and there's the reason they've been caught and passed by the 3 cars that they'd left behind. And now Yevchenko in the 99 yellow and blue Fiesta has got the lead because a hot-headed 16-year-old clattered the leader out.
And here we go, the race leader and teammate Peter Fullin into the pit lane with their black flags.
So Christian Schreiber and Peter Fullin, black flag. That means you are off the racetrack. And that now hands a 1-2 for the moment to the Rickley Civics. But Fabio Motta dives to the inside in turn 1. Can he hold on to it? It looked like a real edge of the seat job from Motta, and Peter Rickley was at extremis as well, but has a little bit more control. Comes back at him to retake what is now second place on the penultimate lap of this race. Well, it started bizarrely and it's ending dramatically for all concerned, isn't it, Richard?
Absolutely, handed on a plate for some of these drivers, because yeah, the Krennic Motorsport team have been the team to beat. They're on the front row, and yeah, nightmare scenario for those guys. And
for the there we go. For the two Fiestas, as you see Yevchenko take the Peugeot out of what was the lead. That's Hilgenhövel. And Yevchenko clatters him out of the race, trying to be a bit ambitious. So we now have a Fiesta 1, 2, 3. Nicholas Maction in the black car leading the two white machines that were out front. Ulrika Kraft and her young teammate Thomas Kareni. I think he'll be off her Christmas card list by the end of the race, unless she somehow gets the win, and even then, I'm not sure. Here's the battle for second place. Chris Richard leads, the Swiss driver, in the first of the Rickley Motorsport Honda Civics. Peter Rickley himself, the team boss, there he is in the second of them. It's a 1-2 for Rickley Motorsport. And Peter Foulin will not be a happy boy. Not sure that Peter has had a more disappointing race in any of the races I've seen him compete in the European Touring Car Cup. The incident involving Yevchenko and Hilgenhövel will be investigated after the race. Not sure that Hilgenhövel is going to have anything to answer much about that. No. Yevchenko just got it all wrong and torpedoed him, didn't he?
Absolutely. Just slightly misjudged, and these cars, once you lose the momentum, they're very easy to continue heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, definitely. Final lap. Will that be the final lap for the Super 1600s? I guess it will. Yes, they'll catch the checkered flag. Well, they might not. They might get another one. So, three-way battle for the Super 1600s. They're in front of the Super 2000 field. Kevin Richard, Peter Rickley, 1-2 for Switzerland, 1-2 for Honda, 1-2 for Rickley Motorsport, and then Portuguese driver Fabio Motta in his Seat Leon in third position.
Yeah, what a gift for Rickley Motorsport, though. You know, their main rivals had a bad day, and they're going to come home with a 1-2 on a circuit that really hasn't suited them.
And they had a good weekend in Paul Ricard as well. Chris Johannes Schreiber got tagged off in the first lap, rather like Rob Huff, but drove himself right back into contention. A stunning recovery drive in race 1. Got tagged off properly in race 2 and retired. But they certainly showed they had pace there. And they've got pace here, working his way through the field. Gets by Thomas Kareni, who's now third in Super 1600. Chris Richard, then Ulrika Kraft is second, but it looks as though the reigning champion Nicholas Maction may well be gifted this Super 1600 race, because now Chris Richard gets by them. When they get to the line this time, the checkered flag will be out for Richard and for the Super 1600 cars as well.
These guys just need to be very careful picking their way through the traffic. It's very, very easy to misjudge a slower car and end in disaster. So these guys, and this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that was only on because of being a funny gap in the traffic, and he's gone through.
He has gone through. Fabio Motta made good use of that, and that was always the danger. Peter Rickley was the man in the dangerous position of trying to find a way through, whereas Motta could see where a gap might open up, and he took advantage. Rickley then down the back straight for the final time into the penultimate corner. Motta with the inside line. Don't think we're going to doubt the winner here. Chris Richard is not going to throw it off now. Let's look at what's coming up behind. Fabio Motta hanging on in second. Peter Rickley trail braking desperately. It's going to be a drag race for the line. Motta's got the shorter run. Rickley's got more momentum. And he's around the outside. Is it going to be Peter Rickley or Fabio Motta at the line? Chris Richard wins. Rickley takes second by 16 thousandths of a second. Fabio Motta with a tighter line couldn't get the power on quite as early. 16 thousandths, that's the blink of an eye later on the gas, and Rickley somehow found enough to go around the outside, and Ulrika Kraft beats Nicholas Maction in a drag race to the line to finally win Super 1600. The gap there, 0.1 of a second. but it is a 1-2 result for Chris Richard and Peter Rickley. Rickley Motorsport Honda Civics start the day with a 1-2.